Respected members of the European Parliament, academics, journalists and activists. In the nearly 70 years since the Islamic State of Pakistan militarily occupied the independent and sovereign state of Kalat, i.e. Baluchistan, the civil military dictators sitting in Islamabad have never once paraded their quislings in front of public audiences to justify the genocide being carried out to make way for the Chinese military, Chinese state-run corporations to rape and plunder my ancestral land. This week we saw the strange sight of a supposed delegation from Baluchistan where close to a dozen traitors read from pre-prepared scripts written to them by their Pakistani military intelligence handlers and Chinese promoters. Men who can be best described as European equivalent of Norwegian Nazi collaborators, Whitcomb, Quisling, or Vichy Francis Marshall, Petain, but whom the brave people of occupied Baluchistan refer to as traitors and sellouts. We have not only sold out their conscience, but also the legacy of their fathers and grandfathers who died fighting for their country. Let me quote the late Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Winston Churchill, who during an address to the Allied delegates at St. James's Palace on the 21st of June 1941, referred to those who collaborate with the enemy as a vile race of Quislings that is hired to fawn upon the conqueror, to collaborate his design and to enforce his rule upon their fellow countrymen, while grovelling low themselves. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the threat is not just to us Baloch, who face extermination to make way for China's expansionist designs and their insatiable appetite for Balochistan's oil, gas, gold, copper and fisheries. The other threat that should be important to you is that Chinese control of Balochistan's naval port of Gwadar at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, from where Beijing can threaten the flow of 80% of the world's oil production from the Gulf. The project being banded around by the Quislings paraded by Islamabad and Brussels, who were brought here as representing what I suggest is Vichy's Baluchistan, is CPEC, the China-Pakistan Exploitation Corridor, wrongly called the Economic Corridor. CPEC is going to cut across our occupied land and link China's restive Xinjiang region with the Indian Ocean, cutting the hitherto sea route by 6,000 miles. But CPEC is just the beginning. According to senior Pakistani civil servant Rauf Khattak, CPEC is part of China's grand vision, known as the One Belt, One Road, or OBOR initiative. This vision extends from the Baltic in Europe to South Asia and from China to Africa. Trace it on the map and the road traverses all the countries in between. It is not only a physical road like the Silk Road, that historic trade route from China to Europe. Khattak writes that China has accumulated $3.2 trillion in foreign exchange. It can be used both for investment and to buy influence around the world. This is what OBOR is about, and Europe will amiss if it is not going to pay attention to China's designs. As an official policy, OBOR is overseen by China's powerful National Development and Reform Commission and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Commerce, as sanctioned by the State Council, the nation's chief administrative body. China's Belt Road is not based on aid or even FDI, but on loan financing. In Poland, a railway project was inaugurated in 2013. Hungary has become the first EU member state to initiate a Chinese high-speed rail project under OBOR. Russia and China are collaborating on the massive power of Siberia gas pipeline project, while in Southeast Asia, one of the most recent OBOR rail projects to be launched is the high-speed railroad, costing $6 billion, connecting the Lebanon capital to Valencia to China. A rail project has also been completed in Indonesia. CPEC, as part of the OBOR, offers great strategic advantage to China, as it gains physical access to Indian Ocean and close proximity to Middle Eastern oil resources. Other OBOR projects around the world do not offer such advantages to China. This is a shrewd global strategic move. China's global rivals will, of course, factor this in their countermoves. Having said this, the primary victims of China's global reach are the occupied people of Baluchistan, who are being systematically eradicated by a policy of ethnic cleansing and genocide to reduce us to a status of North American Syaks or the Cree, who live as tolerated people, but merely as exhibits of endangered indigenous species who survive thanks to the generosity of those who exterminated them in the first place. Let me assure you all that we will never sacrifice the legacy of our elders who sacrificed so much to throw the yoke of Pakistani occupation from our backs. Whether it was Nawab Khair Bakhsh Mari or Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti, the brave Noroz Khan or the late Mir Ghosbakhsh Bezinjo, or our elder statesman Sardar Atullah Mangal. It is our promise to you that we will carry our fight, and notwithstanding the Queslings who allow themselves to be paraded shamelessly for 12 pieces of silver. I thank you.